Because if we're really experiencing that joy, we're going to see beauty. Okay, friends, holiday of Sukkot, the holiday of Sukkot, coming up. The holiday of Sukkot is really the holiday of unity. Chag HaAsif, it's the holiday of gathering. The Torah tells us that the holiday of Sukkot falls out during the time that crops in the field would be gathered, because it's a holiday of gathering, it's a holiday of unity, it's a holiday of togetherness. That togetherness, the solidarity that we've experienced on Yom Kippur, everybody flocking to the shul, and us getting that fresh restart. Well, now guess what? We can connect with each other. We can unite with each other. And we sit together in the sukkah, and we bring together the four species, the Daled Minim, the four different kinds of vegetation. We have the lulav, we have the esrog, the palm branch, the citron, the myrtle, the hadassim, and the arava, the willow. We take all these four branches together, representing the diversity of the Jewish people, and we bring it together. We represent that unity. We bring it close to our heart, because that unity has to be near and dear to our heart. The Midrash tells us that the four species, these four kinds, these four vegetation correspond to four types of Jews. Types, for lack of a better word. You have the lulav, you have the date palm, which has flavor, has the flavor of the date, but it doesn't have a smell, representing the Jew who's engaged in the pleasantness of Torah study, but doesn't necessarily exemplify the beauty of observance, the beauty of mitzvah observance. You have the esrog, the citron, which has a beautiful smell and a taste, representing the Jew who's well-rounded in his philosophy and his understanding of his religion, of his Torah study, and he's observant. He actually does what he studies, right? He's beautiful inside and out. You have the hadas, you have the myrtle. It smells beautiful. Doesn't have any taste. The Jew who does what he can, he does the observances, he does the mitzvahs, he does the traditions, but doesn't necessarily exemplify the value of learning about them. And then you have the arava, the willow. The willow has no scent, the willow has no flavor, has no taste. You have that Jew who doesn't necessarily exemplify or represent a practicing Jew, doesn't necessarily represent a Jew who understands his heritage or where he comes from. Yet the Torah says, take all four of these, take the diversity, bring it together, bring it to our heart, do it in the sukkah, because at the end of the day, we're all one, we're all united. And here's an interesting thing. I think it's important to note that even the arava, even the willow, even the plain branch that has no taste or no flavor, he's still important, because if he's not present, we're not doing the mitzvah properly. If we amputate a Jew whom we think is less than because their observance is not to the degree that we are observing, or their study or understanding is not to the degree that we may understand, they're different than you on the outside, and they don't live up to the expectations that you have, or maybe even not to the expectations that God has. Deep down inside, there's inherent value, and they are necessary. They are part of that bundle. They are part of that branch. I'll tell you a fascinating halacha. The Beis Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Cairo, quotes this, that the blessing that we recite when taking these four species is al netilat lulav, God who has commanded us to take the lulav. Even though we're grabbing all four species, we exemplify or highlight the lulav rather than the other species. The Talmud says the lulav is the tallest. Another explanation is that the lulav, which exemplifies the one who's engaged in Torah study, and that's a prime way to connect to our Judaism, and that's something we want to highlight. We don't really mention the other ones in the blessing, even though we're taking them all together. But here's an interesting thing. The Beis Yosef, Rabbi Yosef Cairo, explains that were you to pick up the four kinds and make the blessing that God has commanded us al netilat lulav, on the taking of the lulav, all four species, and you look at it, oh, I forgot the arava, I forgot the willow. You start over. And what bracha do you make? Al netilat arava, God who has commanded us on taking the arava, taking the willow. Ideally, we make the blessing on the lulav. But there is sources in halacha and Jewish law that say that the blessing is made also on the arava. And although we may not follow that opinion in practice, there's an incredible value here. We have to look at the arava. We have to look at the willow. We have to look at the person who seems plain, who seems like they're lacking flavor, who seems like they're lacking scent, who seems that they're not fully engaged. And we have to fully embrace them to the point that if we've forgotten or neglected them, we have to give them a special blessing, because we have to dig deep and see that there's an inherent value beyond the behavior and beyond the philosophy and beyond their understanding. There's something deep inside them. We have to see that within them. That's the holiday of Sukkot. That's the holiday of Sukkot. The holiday of Sukkot is the season of joy, because if we're really experiencing that joy, we're taking these four species, and like the Torah says, rejoicing before the Lord our God, we're going to see beauty in all four of these kinds. We're going to see beauty not only in the lulav and the esrog, or in the hadas, where taste and scent is present, but even in the arava, even in the willow, even in that person who seems very plain. And it's like, is there any depth to you? What value to bring to the table? We have to believe that there's incredible value there. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.